welcome here to TalkFCB and welcome back to the channel here today, guys, for a Barça news roundup. And I do have some really interesting topics to share with you today, and all of them I would really like to know your opinion on. We're going to be talking about Ilkay Gundogan, about Joshua Kimmich, and also we're going to be talking about Pedri too, because we're going to look closer at his injury problems and exactly what the cause of them may be. And I've got some really intriguing quotes coming up for you on that. So without further ado, let's do it. But I do want to kick off here, guys, with the topic of Ilkay Gundogan. I want to talk about him, and I want to clarify quite a few things on this front, because since his interview there after El Clasico, when he came out, of course, and spoke about the reaction or lack of it from the team, I thought he was incredibly honest right there, and I think that honesty actually was very refreshing. We as Barcelona fans have actually been waiting for a long time for a senior Barcelona player to come out after a bad loss like that and talk in that way. So we were happy to hear those words from Gundogan. However, you just knew that after he had been so outspoken after the loss, the media in Spain, in typical fashion, they were going to use that in their favour. They were going to try and pounce all over that to try and see what other headlines they could create. And it's been reported since those quotes from Gundogan that apparently that wasn't the first time that he was disappointed and angry, really, with the club. The media have actually reported this week that when Gundogan arrived with his wife in the summer to Barcelona, he felt abandoned by the club because they didn't help him apparently look for a house or even help him with transportation. But I would just like to make it absolutely crystal clear, guys, that is fake news. That is completely and utterly false there, and we know that because this right here is his wife Sarah. On Instagram, she was asked basically about the rumours that were coming out. Is Gundogan unhappy? Is he not really enjoying his time here? And she said that is completely fake. We are very happy. We had so much support from the club, and I would love to know where this news is coming from. And as you can see right there, that's the danger of it. In the media in Spain, basically adding 2 and 2 together, making 5. Because Gundogan is unhappy after the game, he's been unhappy at the club in general, when that is simply not the case. And what I don't want to see right here is Gundogan being attacked by the media or used by the media in Spain. We don't want to see more and more stories here being made up. He's an experienced player, he's a winner, he's a leader, he came out after the Clasico and spoke from the heart, and we all wanted to hear that. And even the coaching staff at Barcelona apparently were happy that Gundogan said those words. That's the kind of attitude they want the players to have. And now we've got to focus on that reaction. Now we have to focus on the important work on the field and try and leave all of this extra noise far behind. But indeed, guys, from one German midfielder to another, I want to talk about Joshua Kimmich, because he was actually part of the Bayern team that last night were knocked out of the German Cup by a team from the 3rd division in Germany. And I believe actually that Kimmich was playing for most of that game for some reason as a centre-back there. I think after De Ligt went off injured, he was actually playing there as a centre-back. But obviously Bayern, bad night for them. But even before that game, there were big rumours about Kimmich's future, even before that disaster happened, because there was a report there from Sport 1 in Germany that basically said Kimmich is highly unlikely to renew his contract at Bayern in this year. They said that he sees far too much uncertainty right now surrounding the club as a whole. The coach there, Thomas Tuchel, he doesn't really see eye to eye with him. I don't think he really knows exactly what his own role is right now and the direction the club are going to have in the future. And above all else, Kimmich does not feel trusted or valued by Bayern right now. And as a result of that, he is not close at all to renewing. And that contract, remember, it expires in the summer of 2025, which of course means that if Kimmich wasn't to renew his contract this season at all, he would get to the summer and then be entering the final year of his deal. And would Bayern even want to think about losing a player like him potentially on a free 1 year later? So that certainly is going to really kickstart rumours about his future. And that is why we said it many times on the channel here. The longer this standoff goes on, the longer there that Kimmich does not renew his deal at Bayern, we're going to be looking closer and closer at him. The clock is ticking down on his contract, and we are certainly very interested. And that is why this morning, Kimmich right here appears on the cover of Mundo Deportivo, and the headline says, keeping track of Kimmich. And the club are very attentive right now to his situation. Ever since back in the summer, when of course, don't forget, conversations took place there between Barca and between Kimmich's entourage. They did sort of sound each other out and understand what the feelings were in that moment. And also right now, guys, think of the problems that Barca are facing long term in the defensive side of our midfield. Xavi has been desperate to bring in a player of real quality in that area. He's been looking around at many targets, looking for a quality pivot, we know that he's a huge fan of Kimmich. We also know that Kimmich is a huge fan of Xavi, and he is still 28 years old right now. I think he's got plenty of years ahead of him at the very top level. I've said before, could you imagine a sort of double pivot there in midfield of Frenkie de Jong and Joshua Kimmich? I mean, that would be an absolute cheat code. You simply could not get on top of that midfield. It would be incredible to see. And just keep watching this space, guys. As the time goes on, as maybe Kimmich and Bayern start to get further and further apart, the wheels are in motion, and Barca are keeping a very close eye on this situation. However, guys, speaking about midfield, speaking about quality and top midfield players, I want to talk now, and I want to talk to you in real detail here about Pedri. Because let's not forget, this is somebody here who suffered with injury problems ever since his breakthrough season at the club. When, don't forget, he played a huge number of games. They're racking up over 70 games for club and country in that season. And then, don't forget as well, the Olympic Games in Tokyo in the summer of 2021, which meant that effectively, he played an entire season, such a long season of football with no break in the middle of it before the next season began. And many of us Barca fans have always wondered, is that where the injury problem started? Is that ultimately where Pedri ran his body into the ground and has never really managed to properly recover or have the time to recover from that burnout? And this is what I think is so intriguing. Now to listen to the words of Pau Torres yesterday there during an interview with Relevo. And this is somebody who played alongside Pedri at the Olympic Games in Tokyo. And just have a listen here to what he has to say, because he said in the Olympic Games, I played every minute, we had matches every 2 or 3 days, and the diet that we had in Japan was not the best for an athlete who has to perform so often and with such physical demand. He said there, I lost a lot of weight, and Pau Torres was really concerned about the condition that he was in at the Olympics, and especially having already had such a long season. But this is the key here, because he said then, I went back to Villarreal it was at the time, and he said Unai Emery was very honest with me. He told me, look Pau, I've got a lot of experience. I've had players there who've gone to World Cups, and no, I've got to stand up. You cannot come back and play straight away. I don't care that you want to play. You must have a vacation. Every player needs that time off. And he said, I came back from the Olympic Games, and that's what I did. I did have a vacation, but Pedri came back and started the season. And Pau Torres couldn't believe it. He said he simply stopped for a week only during the first national team break, and he said it seems to me, I think that unfortunately, he's never really recovered from that, and from that moment on, it's really had an effect on him. If Barca had decided to give him more time off, Pau says, I think that he'd be better physically today, because he's been suffering so much with injuries all since that moment. And he actually went on there, Pau Torres, to say, I think that Pedri is not enjoying football, and neither is Spanish football. He said, because he is a player that Spain needs and La Liga needs. He said, as a colleague of mine and a friend living through so many moments together, it's something that I don't enjoy, to see what's happening with Pedri right now and to see there what he's going through, because he said above all, he cannot seem to get the rest that he needs. And I just think there, guys, that was such an interesting and informative interview from Pau Torres, somebody who was at the Olympics too, alongside Pedri, who saw firsthand what it was doing to him, perhaps. And from what I remember back at the time, Pedri there, he was the one who was very eager to come back. You know, Barca maybe did actually want to give him a longer time away, but Pedri wanted to come back and play. But I think listening to those words there, we should have been stronger. We should have been the ones in control, saying, you know what, we're going to decide. We know what's best for you, Pedri. You're a young player, you've had such a long season, so many demands on your body, and we should have been firmer in saying, look, you're not coming back yet. You have to have the amount of rest. That is more important than anything, looking to the future. And I just think from what we've seen now, we've seen Pedri plagued with injuries, lots of different muscle problems, really difficult and tough times for him, and it's just not what we wanted. And we have to make sure from here on in, we protect this young man. We look after him and really work in the best interest there of keeping him fit and healthy. That is the most important thing above all else, because when he's out on the field, he is an absolute joy to watch. He is an absolutely unique and incredible player. We want to see him, but to do that, we must look after him. We have to make sure here, with every player, that we're doing the right things and not just thinking about the short term, not just throwing players in there, overworking them, getting them in for the next game. You've got to think further. You've got to zoom out a little, focus on the big picture, and make the right decisions for the health of these players. And I am just wondering right now, guys, what you make there of those words from Pau Torres. Do you agree with what he's saying? Can you understand there the feelings that he has there about Barca and about the treatment of Pedri and about what we could have done more maybe to help him and avoid some of these problems? And I also think as well, Spain have got to take some responsibility too. They also really worked him so hard, and it was such a demanding time for him. But do, guys, let me know in the comments down below on everything that we have discussed in today's video. And there's also content right now over for you too on more TalkFCB, more to enjoy. Thank you indeed for your great support, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video today. I will be back soon, but until next time, as always, Visca El Barça.